Hello and welcome open source silicon enthusiasts, and welcome to another news update. Tiny Tapeout news first. So Tiny Tapeout 3 is closing soon. You've got about 10 days left. Got to get your designs in by the 24th. You can take a look at previous submissions on Tiny Tapeout 2 if you want to get some inspiration on what's been previously typed out. And you can see our progress on Tiny Tapeout 3 if you go to the Tiny Tapeout 3 page. A cool feature just added for Wokwi designs on Tiny Tapeout is automatic testing. That was added by Pat recently. If you create a file called truthtable.md with your expected inputs and outputs, then an automatic test will be run for you on the GitHub repository that uses CocoaDB to run those inputs and validate that you got those outputs. We also recently added some automatic static timing analysis to the Tiny Tapeout scan chain, thanks to Jeremy Birch. And if you want to find out more information about that, you can check this great video that we did together, where Jeremy was able to build the STA framework to run against Tiny Tapeout 2 and 3. And we were also able to simulate how the clock changes as it passes through the scan chain. That's currently passing for Tiny Tapeout 2, but we have discovered something that has changed in Tiny Tapeout 3. Not quite sure what that is yet. It seems like the capacitance of metal traces has increased, and that's slowed down the maximum clock we can achieve. So that's something that we're looking at. So now moving on to some event news. Last month I was very happy to go to Hackaday Berlin, which is a really good conference, and I thoroughly recommend any Hackaday conferences. I met some really cool people and took some fun photos, and definitely will be going again. One of the things I really enjoyed was the kind of hacker techno aesthetic in the motion space, and we had a kind of techno party on Saturday night with this incredible inflatable octopus. And there was some great interactive artwork there as well. Really enjoyed playing with that. Date is coming up. That's the International Conference on Design, Automation and Test in Europe, in Belgium. And if you're there on Monday, then there's also the OSDA open source workshop on design automation. And there'll be some people from Yosis HQ there. So if you can make it, go along to that. The call for papers for the Free Silicon Conference 2023 is open, so get your proposals in. I'll be there doing a talk on stuff I've been up to, so I hope to see you there. And there's also the RISC-V Summit coming up in Barcelona on the 5th to the 9th of June. And I'll be attending on Friday for the morning. We're going to be doing an open source hardware track there. So if you're interested to come along, then come and say hello in Barcelona. You might have seen recently my interview with Thomas Idoukas, who actually, incidentally, I met at Free Silicon Conference 2022. And he's agreed to do some X-ray tomography, some 3D imaging of my MPW1 chips. So I've booked my travel and I'll be heading over there in the beginning of May to meet him and take a look at the inside of my chips. So really looking forward to that. I'll be taking my camera gear and you can expect a video soon on the channel. I recently put a video together on my MPW2 soldering techniques. This is because we need lots of chips to do the testing and characterization. And you can see here my hot plate and hot air methodology. And that kind of works okay. We did have quite a few problems and I wasn't sure exactly why. And luckily somebody I know, Powell from the course, he came over, he was visiting Spain. We did some more soldering together and he took a bunch of boards that failed because he has access to an X-ray machine. And you can see here we've got some results. This is a particularly bad one. We've got balls that didn't get soldered and lots of shorts. Got this slightly better one just with a few different shorts there. And then we've got another one here just with a single short. So I've decided to move on to a different process. I'm now collaborating with Thomas More University in Belgium, thanks to Patrick Pelgrims. And they've got a really excellent pick and place machine that can also do solder jetting, which is a way of doing solder paste without needing a stencil. So I'm going to send him a whole bunch of boards and we're going to assemble another 50 to 100, but with the professional machinery. So thanks Patrick for helping out. We continue to make progress on the MPW2 chips bringup, and Proppy has been starting to put together a slideshow on some of the success. In particular, we've got some interesting results from Dinesh and his RISC-Duino. There was a really good result from the FPGA that was put together with the fabulous FPGA framework. And we've also got quite a few designs on the 0 to ASIC course submission. I think we've got about 6 or 7 that have been shown to be at least partially working, including a new result from Conrad's Fibonacci sequencer, and we're able to control all the IOs to get the Fibonacci sequence put out on the IOs. Talking of shuttles, there's still no news on when MPW9 is going to be coming. We were expecting it at the beginning of March, but there's been no news, so there's nothing to update there. But Efabless is taking up some slack, and they've announced a new open source shuttle competition. So that's going to be a limited number of free slots on their Chip Ignite service. That's the $10,000 for 100 QFN or 300 wafer level chip scale package parts. And there'll be a to-be-decided process on how you can get your chips made. So far we're thinking there's going to be 4 slots to win, 2 full size and 2 with 4 designs each, so enough to make 10 different designs. You have to submit a proposal first. There'll be a minimum level of quality to enter the competition. Votes can be given by the community, and there'll be a final decision made by a panel of judges to be selected. So if you want to find out more about that, then make sure you're subscribed to the Efabless newsletter or you sign up to the Open Source Silicon Slack. There's been some good progress recently on the open source IHP PDK that's been released. You can see here on the GitHub, we've got some information. A lot of the work has been focusing on the analog side of things because it's an interesting process that supports very high speed analog, like many tens of gigahertz. One of the most recent commits was adding standard cells, so I took an opportunity to download it and render this mux. So it's great to see some progress there, and I'm looking forward to doing my first tape outs on a new open source PDK. And finally, some news from the FOSSi Foundation. They've recently ran an event called Latchup in the US, and there was loads of great talks, and those talks are already available on YouTube, so make sure you take a look at some of these. Another great resource for news about the world of open source silicon is El Correo Libre, also published by the FOSSi Foundation. So go along, make sure you have a look and catch up with all the latest stuff that's happening. So that's it for this news update. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and the newsletter. It really helps me out.